My guest today is a financial advisor working out of Five Dock, Sydney. He tutors high school students in mathematics, is a two-time OzTag State Cup champion, an EUG's gold medalist. That's how I know my man. And he is an all-round good guy. Please give it up for Alex Ho.
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else.
It was better later.
It was an everyday process.
Coffee's for closers only.
You're listening to the Morey Health Podcast.
And we're on. So, Mr. Ho, how are you?
That's a big wrap. Thanks for that. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, my man. I've been locked up indoors for the last couple of months, off and on, and I'm pretty excited having football back on the TV screen. And this weekend, I actually go back to footy. So, very exciting times for me.
Yep.
Been itching for it. And for me, that is what normality is my weekends have just been given away to the great game of rugby league. But anyway, enough about me. So let's talk about, I guess, our relationship and how we got to know each other. So I met you at UNSW. We were both studying. You're obviously studying finance and I'm studying the body and health. And I think there's a good mix here where, from my perspective, people need to get their finances sorted because that can become a big stressor in their life. And stress is something that I have to deal with my patients and my clients and who I have to work with. And if that's one component that they can get under control and we can give them a bit of help here, then I think that's sort of what we're going to be going for. So let's give your business a plug, who you work for, straight off the bat. So you work for One Solutions?
Yes. So One Solutions is, I guess, the overarching sort of company, and then underneath that have their different divisions. So the division I'm in is One Financial Advice, and so we have a couple of other divisions. The other ones being One Lending, One Accounting, and One Wellbeing. So I'm part of the financial advice space. But yeah. So that's where we are. One Solutions.
Is that personal finance, or is that business as well, like corporate work, or a bit of a combo?
Sorry, the internet cut out a little bit.
Sorry, mate. So I guess the clients that you're working with, some young professionals, are you working with personal finance, or are you working with corporate finance, or a bit of a combination of the two?
So I guess like One Solutions as a whole, we do deal with some corporates as well, but predominantly we are dealing with like personal finance. So your personal client, your average mum and dad that comes in and wants to have their finances sorted. So, and I think the one thing, traditionally speaking, just with like in the finance sort of space, is that most people are unsure about where they can go and who to trust, because they think that the people that they're going to that are going to service them don't normally service that type of people. They sort of think that they're not cut out for advice, in general. So yeah, I'll just try to maybe squash that rumor that financial advice in particular is for everyone, and not just for the wealthy.
I get that. Yeah. I get that. That's probably a big thing, a big stigma that's out there. And I guess I would anticipate that the earlier you go and get the advice, the better off you are, because then you can get your affairs in order.
Yeah.
But I guess who comes to see you at the moment? Like if you're 100%. Getting a new client, a new patient, what are their usual concerns? What do they come to you with? Or do you get a bag of all sorts?
So it's a bag of all sorts, but predominantly the main clientele that we sort of get are, I guess, your people aged between 25 up to 30, all the way to 50, and then closer to retirement. So the majority would sit in between the 30 to 45 sort of range, I would say, as a clientele. But as you said, I would strongly echo that your foundations are set when you're in your 20s, because when you're in your 30s, I wouldn't say it's too late, but it just might be a little bit more difficult to have a stronger foundation. So it's just in those early 20s that it's not even maybe seeking advice. It's just having the conversation initially to get you thinking. Because I know when I was at uni, like even, my early 20s, it's not a thing that you worry about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you come, mid 20s, closer to 30, you actually start to need to adult. And unless you've, I
Still
hate to
trying
say,
to
but you've
avoid
got
that,
maybe
mate.
parental backing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you've got like parental backing or parental support, it's very difficult to get out on your own 2 feet, especially these days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to talk for you here, but I guess you and I, we've come from Western Sydney. We've both got hardworking parents that have
Mhm.
had to earn their way through to get anywhere and anything. Endless hours where you kind of go, well, where's mum and dad? And oh, they're working. Like I get where
Mhm.
you're coming from, I guess, in terms of life. And I'd urge people like us and even those that do have that bit of a head start to actually get their affairs in order early. I mean, I guess I'm a
Yeah.
rare bird in that I've been thinking about this stuff ever since I was a little kid, and it's probably my environment. In that
Mhm.
my old man was running his own business for as long as I can remember. And so I saw finances as a very important thing.
Critical. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super critical.
yeah. And I've been thinking about buying a house ever since I was a kid. So I guess you could say I'm a good saver and have been, but a lot of people my age, as soon as they get their paycheck, they're like, oh, great, that's spending money. That's not saving
Bang.
money.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I have a personal issue with how things have been set up in Australia in terms of personal finance and that being an education component, which just isn't taught in. Initially, I thought when I went through university, I thought it should have been a mandatory subject in uni, that everyone that goes through a university course should do personal finance. And I've actually had to think about that recently, and I think it should start in high school. I really think it should be a part of that
Yeah.
base
Yeah, I
education
agree.
that everyone that goes through from year 7 to year 10, there is a component of your education which teaches you life skills, everything from how to change a tire through to how to manage your finances properly and how to lodge a tax return. If you don't have those skills, it's an uphill battle from the start, and the world's kind of set against you. And you know, not that we wouldn't need your advice anyway, but we might actually have a bit more confidence in what we're doing to begin with, and we might actually take those steps earlier. What do
Yeah,
you
entirely correct. And
what do you think?
I fully agree that even just the basics of personal finance is done in high school. Because I understand, like, because I tutor maths as well. I have taken a bit of a step back in the last year or so, but I still do it occasionally. But just the curriculum that they try to teach, they have a little bit of personal finance, like they dabble in it, but it's very it's minuscule to if you really want to delve into it. But having a better understanding of it does set you up for later years, 100%. So I agree with you that they should definitely be incorporating more of the emphasis when you're doing maths in personal finance in high school. And even, I mean, uni to a certain extent, because then you're sort of choosing and branching out into what you want to specialize in. But certainly in high school, definitely, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I guess in my industry, in the health industry, for those that want to go and start their own practice or their own medical center in that sort of world, and I guess that's what I aspire to do down the track and not so long down the track. I've got to go now on my own accord and go learn how to run a business, which is completely different skills to how to be a practitioner. And it
100%.
frustrates me
Yeah.
a little bit. However, in my postgraduate studies, that's what's coming up next semester. So I'm very much looking forward to the insight that they're going to provide there, and then seeing how much more further learning I'm going to have to do on top. Because I might have to start to learn business administration systems and, start to figure out what MYOB is and those sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So like people that are supposed to be special, like you're supposed to specialize in your field, which is about the body
Yep.
and how you can teach someone else. But then you undertaking the ventures of opening up your own business, it's an entirely different field. So first and foremost, the people that you're sort of consulting, you need to trust wholeheartedly, because it's not a small decision. When you go to open up your business, so there's lots of upfront costs that you have to foot, that you're in the hopes of that you are going to succeed. And so you need to totally diverge your attention away from even what the business is actually doing, and actually worrying about the numbers behind that, which shouldn't be your job in the first place, to sort of get that all ticked off. So yeah, I mean, having a basic understanding would definitely help, but it's not widely sort of pushed,
No,
so to speak.
it's quite disappointing. And like even those that are doing trades in a TAFE degree, and who wants to become a plumber and whatnot these days, they should be taught those basic skills as well. And in some cases they are, but in most cases it's not to the same degree that they actually need. So yeah. Anyway, that's my personal vendetta on that. And I guess I've been going out, and I've been trying to educate myself a little bit. I mean, I listen to those of the sorts of like Gary Vee, and obviously he's an American entrepreneur, but here from Australia, a very popular book at the moment. You'd be very aware of it, I'm guessing, is The Barefoot Investor, Mr. Scotty.
Yeah.
I've read the book, and I would like to think I'm not a dummy, but there's some things that I still don't understand, and I still need to go and do further reading on, and I guess looking after my finances and getting things in order. Yes, it's a step-by-step book, but there's still things where I have question marks over, and I guess as a young person without the experience, I lack the confidence to make those decisions, and by hesitating, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or wrong thing. I mean, as a kid, Commonwealth Bank, he's right in his book in that they're coming to and they do this Dolomites rubbish, which, I did as a kid. And
I think I was set up with that. My parents sent me on that as well.
yeah, they thought it was a good idea, and at the time it probably was. But then before I turned 18, I switched out, which is fine. But I guess I'm starting to look at the stock market because that's more of an affordable entry point for me into investments. But I don't know what I'm looking at. All I see is, red and green bars on a graph and a zigzaggy line that doesn't tell me if something's reliable or not. So I guess if you were to give some advice to some young people, or even anyone, it doesn't have to be young people, what are some big mistakes to avoid, and what are some things that they should probably start considering?
So first of all, I think The Barefoot Investor, like the book itself, is a very nice sort of general starting point, that if you've got absolutely no idea about finances at all, and like if you want to just jump in straight away just to get a whole nice little overview of it, it's a good book to sort of get your head around, that will kind of list out step by step what you should be aware of in general. So I would definitely say that's one. I'd give it a tick of approval to sort of just have a read of it, and then it's obviously, if you, like you, Rob, that if you've got questions after that you sort of want to try to tackle, even if it's your own personal home, or it's just like you ask around. You just talk to people that are your mentors, or just people that are at a different stage of life, because for the most part it's just life experience that people have learned over the time, that they've been alive, that they can sort of drip feed to you. Now you don't have to take their word as the gospel of everything, but it's just something that you can keep in the back of your mind, that it's an opinion that they've got, and then you can use it to make a more well-rounded decision. But for young people, I would say their first thing that they should be worrying about is just their spending habits, because
I'm just taking notes. Don't worry.
if
Spending
we just do a normal, so spending habits is the first thing. Just because for most people, if you just track, so someone comes out of high school and let's say they don't go to uni, but they start to work. So yes, that's great. They're picking up, their tools of their trade, or they're gaining experience in whatever field they're deciding to go into. They might be earning a little bit of money as well at the same time. And they probably think that's great. They've got a little bit more freedom to go out and do things, and they've got money to spend. and that's, you know, that's all well and fine because you earn money to spend it. You know what I mean? Like it's, if that's what in, you know, gives you pleasure, then you can do that.
Yeah.
But it's just the one thing that you sort of need to keep in the back of your mind is that how long can you do that for? And what do you really want to, you know, get by and get done in 5 years, 10 years time? Because people don't think that far ahead. And they say, oh, I'll let future self worry about that.
Yeah. Don't want to be that guy.
Future self, yeah. So that's the sort of avenue that most people sort of look at, is they go, I'll let future person deal with that. But it's like, if I'm not doing what I want to do, like to put myself in the position in 5 years time, what will? Like, it's not just going to magically turn around and you'll win the lotto, because that'll be great. If everyone won the lotto, no one would ever need to work again. Right. No. So you can have your period of fun. Like there's, yeah.
The odds of winning the lotto is,
I'd say you're more likely to get hit by lightning twice.
Literally. Yeah.
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 So,
no, 100%.
Like you can have your fun. You've got disposable income that you can do, but then I think there'll come a point in your life that you need to just, and I think COVID especially has maybe pushed that sort of thinking to a lot of people's the forefront of their minds, just because they've got a lot more time to reflect on, because they can't go out as much as they.
That's why I wanted you on here as well. I mean,
to be able to think about it.
100%. Like at the moment, right, because of COVID, unemployment's the highest it's been since the 90s, and you and I were born in the 90s, so it's the highest it's been in our lifetime. And friends our age and those well and truly above us are really struggling at the moment, and they need help and they need advice. And it's like, well, like if we can provide any value at all, it's, you can take control of your finances. You can get these things in line. It's not like it's going to be a set and forget. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. If you think that's a possibility,
realistic.
You're living with unicorns and fairy tales. Like, you need to come back to reality here and actually start to take ownership for yourself, take responsibility, and actually do something about it. So hopefully this helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if it's just a kick up 100%. The ass.
So, yeah, that's it. So, during COVID, everyone thinks about, okay, my travel plan's probably put on hold. I'm not sure about my job. So first and foremost, like people that are listening, if you've still got a job and have a stable job, then be grateful. I think that's maybe one thing that some people may be like overlooking. But being grateful that you've got employment, and I certainly am, especially during this time. So that's one thing. But then, I think most people kind of shy away from it, but it's like, if I ask you what you expect to be at in 5 years time, not many people can answer that with a lot of confidence. And that's can be scary. When someone can't really answer that, because it's like they haven't really thought about it. They might give an airy fairy answer, but really knuckling down at that 5-year mark, or even 10-year mark, they might think it's really far away. But as I'm experiencing, after I suppose maybe 21, it kind of goes really quickly.
It's elusive. Yeah. You think it's forever away, and then all of a sudden you're 25, and then you're closer to 30, and who knows what's happening.
I hope I didn't lose you, Rob.
No, I'm still there, mate. Still there.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Nah, I agree. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you get to 25 and you're like, oh, that's a quarter life century. Yeah, we're gonna. How much longer? Things are going up quick. Biological clock is running, and what are we gonna do about it? Champ. Yo.
Yeah, it all accelerates after there.
Big guy, you've frozen up on me there. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah. How much longer? That's right. Yeah. So it all accelerates after that. Which, if I want to echo the statement, like a lot of your financial success, if all of your financial success is built, I suppose, in your late 20s, early 30s, all those strong foundations with, good financial sense really sets you up and propels you. So, because like when you look at those that are in their, early 30s, they're starting a family and stuff like that, you look at them and they go, wow, I don't know if that could be me. And it's as simple as just getting started with your finances, just being aware of it. You don't even have to do anything. As long as you're aware of what you're in, like the easiest way to look at it is what you are earning as your in and what is your out. Now, if your out is higher than your in, you've got a problem.
You sound like you're doing weight management. You sound like someone whose calories in equals calories out. And if you need to manage your weight, you need to look at both ends of the spectrum. If you're not exercising, then you're going to start adding up. So if you're spending more than you earn, all of a sudden you're going to have no money. Same concept, in a way.
It's exactly the same concept, because it's like your calories in, calories out. Like it's the same process. It's the same with money, because it's like if I'm spending more than I'm earning, that's a problem. And that will always continue to be a problem until you either level it out or your income, like your ins, is more than your outs.
Yeah. And it kind of scares me that most people in our generation kind of live on the other spectrum. They spend more than they actually earn. It scares the shit out of me, to be honest.
Rob again.
Man, I'm here.
Is a little bit patchy. Sorry, Rob, you're on mute. Yeah, I got you.
You there?
It's really patchy just then.
That's all right, my man. I just dropped out for some reason.
I just love internet problems.
Oh, I love
internet's great.
Love it. Beautiful. It's a blessing and a curse. Thank you, Morey, for setting up my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where was I? I guess we're talking about, people our age, in our generation, spending more than they earn. It scares the shit out of you.
Yeah, so I just caught you after the ins and outs. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That sort of stuff, it just scares the crap out of me that my mates might not have an income next week. You know what I mean? I kind of feel guilty that I've gone out and learned a little bit about finances, and that these people are still struggling. Like but I'm not in a position to give advice. I'm a dummy. I got no idea when it comes to money. This is why I'm asking you. Like, I need the help as much as the people around me. So, yeah, I guess thank you for doing what you're doing.
That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. My job obviously is to just try to get the message out as much as I can. Just to, even general knowledge. And I suppose if you come back to another tip, getting a personal finance, because some people might see that as a way out, because that comes back with the ins and outs, right? So if your outs are too high and you go, I don't have enough money to pay rent, then I might need to get a personal loan for that. I mean, if circumstances sort of prevail, if you don't have to get a personal loan or bad credit card, max out your credit card, then don't do it, because that's what we call bad debt, and bad debt is bad debt, and you're just going to keep digging yourself in a hole until you sort out. Maybe you just got to look at your expenses. Are you paying for a subscription that you hardly ever use, as a fixed expense? Get rid of it. If you can't afford it. Too many people sort of our age as well, they live in the FOMO sort of space.
Oh, they're on Netflix, they're on KO, they're on Stan, they're on Binge, they're on all this. They've even got Foxtel.
They're on everything.
All you need is KO. You've got rugby league, and you're happy. What else do you need?
Yeah. 100%, yeah.
And even you don't even need KO. You could get 5 of your mates to pitch in to everyone pays, or 12 of your mates, everyone pays once a year for a monthly subscription, and you share that amongst your mates. Sorry, KO, it's probably going against your terms and policies, but if you're looking to be thrifty, that's a good way.
100%, and that's all things that you just if you haven't heard of it, then just jump on, because there are so many things online that have lists and tell you how to sort of divert your money in a better way. But yeah, like you just got to take a good hard look at your expenses and go, am I really using this? Is this giving me the value that I value it at? And if not, then just get rid of it. Yeah, almost like a deep cleanse of your finances.
Yeah, I mean, for an example, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I had a real hard look. I'm with Telstra, and I trust them as a phone company, being the main provider for Australia. But I know they just extort all their customers of all their money, but they provide a good service. So I actually had a look at my plans like last year, and going, I pay way too much money for my phone, and I don't earn enough to justify paying this long term, considering all my other expenses. I should go and buy my phone outright and get a cheaper monthly bill. Now, I'm not saying that everyone needs to go and do Telstra and whatnot, but like little
Sorry,
things
Rob,
like...
I lost you again.
I hope this doesn't drop out, mate. Sorry. You got me? Love it. Love a laggy internet. It has to be me for those that are listening. Yeah, so I was just talking about a phone plan when I went and had a look at my phone plan, and essentially I had to go through and look at all my different plans to try and get a cheaper option that was more sustainable. And just a little thing like that, it's made a big difference. I've managed to save 50 odd bucks a month in just one transaction that I do every month. It was simple, but for me, it made a big difference. And everyone's got their own little personal stories that they need to go and investigate. But if they're not taking an honest look at things, they can't just, inertia. You can't just keep going down the same beaten path and expecting a different result.
Yep, I agree. And that's a pretty good example, Rob, just with your phone plan, because everyone traditionally does have a phone plan. So that's just one great sort of avenue that you can look towards saving money. In terms of like, if, for example, if you're lucky enough to live at home already, like own your own home, so any of the expenses that you've got, like electricity, gas, every year you can rinse that. Like you cycle that and you match them up with their competitors, and you go for, now it might not be the cheapest one, like you don't have to go for the cheapest one, but the one that offers you what you want and what you need, that's the one that you'd go for, right? And that's where you can make your cost savings to any of your fixed costs that you've already got, just to help that ins and outs sort of flow. So yeah, no, that's a good example, Rob, with your phone plan. So big tick on that one.
I look at that, I guess I look at that the same way I look at people management. Like, so if I want to work with a good team, yes, I want people that are talented and whatnot, but I also want to work with good people. If someone might have the most talent in the world, but they're a shit person, or they've got a bad attitude, or they're good to you, but shit to, the waiter when you go out to a restaurant, to me, they're not worth having in the team. That bit of negativity is just going to ruin everything in terms of culture long term. And I look at finances in the same way. Is that like a theme that sort of comes up with you guys, or?
Yeah, so like I would definitely agree, because if you talk about developing a relationship with an advisor, you want someone that you can understand, and that you can get along with, not just talking about your finances, but out of the workspace as well. It's someone that you can have trust, that you can just chat to them about a lot of things, because then nothing can change overnight. You know what I mean? Because when you talk about developing a winning culture, you don't just pull together the best 17 in a rugby team and expect them to win. If they don't have good harmony with each other, then nothing's going to work. So that's the same with your finances. You talk to someone about your finances. You want good harmony between the two, so that it's always me being able to add value, and then being able to open up, and talk about difficult things that they probably weren't comfortable saying in the first place. So it's just that strong little trust sort of connection that you need to have.
Hey, going back to bad debt, what you were talking about before, with all these
Mm-hmm.
government handouts at the moment,
Oh, yeah.
there has to be some terrible mistakes which are being made right now in terms of people pulling
Yep.
tons and tons of money out of super and,
Yep.
thinking that they're doing a good job, um,
Yep.
paying off a debt
Yeah.
or
So
like,
I've probably
talk
got
me
a
through
big
some of
gripe with,
those.
yeah. So I've probably got a pretty big gripe with the 10,000. So for most people that know, if you're suffering from financial hardship, you're able to take out $10,000 from your super as an early release. So traditionally, super, you're not allowed to touch it until you meet um, a reason to be able to touch it. So um, that's retiring entirely from the workplace, or you're reaching age 65. So to be able to take out money to put as a stopgap, I understand what the government is doing, that it's trying to help out those that are really struggling. But then I know that there's a group of people that would be thinking it's free money that they can take out. And if I talk about something, if I go like compound interest, if you talk about putting money in now, that's what it's going to be worth down the track. So you taking out, if you take out the max $10,000 now, you've probably hurt your superannuation balance when it comes to retirement in 30, 40 years time. It might seem small now, but that 10,000 could probably be worth 150 grand down the track, if we're talking about the likes of compound interest. So a lot of people are caught up in the feelings mode and the and the wants sort of space, and I guess that's probably the wrong mentality to have. But I mean, the government's done what they've done, so I would just urge people that if they were considering taking out the 10,000, like just to maybe sleep on it. Like, any big, like, I guess another tip that I can give is that if it's anything more than, I suppose, 5% or 10% of your disposable income that you're going to spend or take out or do something with that amount of money, just sleep on it. And if it kind of feels, because when you sleep on it, you tend to think a little bit more clearer the next day, and that all the emotion might have been sucked out of it. So then you might be able to make better financial decisions after that. But I would, if you wanted to take out that 10, I would strongly urge you
Well,
think about it.
when would there be a good option to take that 10 grand out? Like, in what case would you go, oh, actually, this would be a good reason? There isn't one.
if you're about to get evicted, like, I mean, if you're about to get evicted, like if there was literally like you had no money that that you had to be able to, that would dramatically change your lifestyle situation, like you'd have to end up on the street, then okay, no, that's something you got to do, for your livelihood and for the sake of you being a person, you need to do that. But if you're doing it to say, oh, I want to buy a car, or I want to buy a house, this is just going to top up, like it's just extra money for me. No, you don't need to do that. You need to look at other ways of how to prop up whatever money that you need. Like if it's just for discretionary spending, no, it's not a right thing to be doing.
Yeah, you're using words that some people, like, including myself, I don't use that all the time. Discretionary spending, disposable
Okay.
income. Do you wanna unpack a couple of those?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I guess I
You,
was in that rambling mode where I
you're
was
in your
saying,
own world,
don't
mate.
do this, don't do that. Yeah. So discretionary spending is just money that you think you've just got as extra that you can throw at something that you like. And your disposable income is the income that you've got. So it's just money that you've got available at you. Now it could be for rent, it could be for the bills, but it's just money that you've got that you can spend. So yeah, if we come back to the tips, what I like to say is just with your cash flow that you allocate whatever comes in to what it needs to go to, and then anything that you've got extra, that's what you can call your discretionary spend fund. So it's the stuff that if I feel like wanting to do something, I can spend it on this. But having said that, you need to have a portion that you're allocating to savings, because otherwise, if you just spend what you earn, you're just going to always be at neutral and you'll never accomplish any of your goals that you want to. down the track.
Even if it's, traveling, I know you're an avid traveler.
Yep.
If you want to do those sorts of things, that all comes into play as well. Like would you say if
100%.
you were setting up
Yeah. So if you,
payments that you'd want a proportion to go to that? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
you would just allocate a proportion that you would go, if I wanted to travel now, in a good world, if we could travel again, because I don't think we can travel in the foreseeable future. But
Maybe to New
if
Zealand.
you were, let's say you want, yeah, maybe, right? So if you wanted to travel to say Europe next year during the summer, which would be July next year, you've got 1 year that you can allocate. Every time your pay comes in, that you allocate a portion of it to your travel fund, your Europe fund. So that when the time comes around, you know exactly how much you can spend. And you don't feel bad about it. And you're well in tune with what your ins and outs are, that you've got a separate sort of fund that you know exactly is going to Europe. And you can say, okay, I want to stay at this place. I want to go see this. I've got money in my travel budget to go and do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's as simple as just trying to get yourself organized, right? All right.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
An Excel spreadsheet will do the world. And I know not many people like that, but an Excel spreadsheet goes a long way in terms of really knuckling down on what you've got.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard that before, but I guess it's good to be reminded of that. So no, thanks. If I did have some spare cash, where do I throw it? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at shares at the moment. Everyone kind of my age got that nice little carrot dangled in front of them when Bitcoin was all around, and I guess Ripple and blockchain. What would you say in terms of like looking into those things?
Yeah, so it was really funny when Bitcoin sort of blew up. We had a really funny conversation in the office here that we all sort of looked at each other and just went, yep, it's one of those phases again, huh? It's just one of those things that comes and everybody, sees it and it's a new shiny thing and everyone wants to jump in on it.
It's like a power band. Do you remember? I don't know if you're around
that's
when
right.
Benji Marshall he had the power band. Yeah.
Slapped on the power band. It just means your sporting performance went through the roof, right?
Oh, placebo is some of the best stuff in the world.
Yeah. So stuff like, that's it. That's it. Yeah. So stuff like Bitcoin and that, a lot of people inquired about it, and our strong advice was to actually just stay away from it, because it's not something that you sort of want to be dabbling in unless you've really got that disposable income that you're willing to throw around. Then we always said, nah, you just got to stay away from it. But coming back to your question, I mean, if anyone's got disposable income, like that little bit of extra bit of play money, so to speak, that they've got and they want to know what to do with it. Yeah, play money.
We're not playing Monopoly here. This is real life. Like, yeah.
The one thing you just got to ask yourself is, what do you want to do? Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? What do you want to do in a couple of years' time? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy an investment property if you've already got a house? It's those type of things that you got to think about to go, okay, if I do something now with it, is it going to help me for my goal that I really want to get in a couple of years' time? That's what you got to be thinking at. Now, if you want to allocate, if you were interested in shares and stuff like that, you can have conversations, with me, with anybody about it. And if you wanted to sort of dabble in it on your own and just play around with, investing in a couple of shares, like, if you wanted to invest in your Combank shares, like stuff that's really broadly known, then you can, because as I would say, experience is probably a really good teacher. So you could jump in and then you'd be checking it every day and saying, I made a little bit of money or I lost a little bit of money. So it would give you a bit of feel, because you've actually got skin in the game, and you can sort of ride the emotions up and down. But I think if you're speaking long term, I would always say you need to sit down and map out what you want to achieve in 5-10 years time, and that's what you're going to be focusing that money on into doing. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. I guess for me, I look at it in like, okay, I've been saving for a little while. I've had money in a bank account, but is it better off, in the share market than in a bank account? Where do I just get a safe investment, whatever that means, in terms of shares, like a low index fund where they sort of diversify risk. It's still a risk regardless, but like, I guess just trying to set up a way where your money is working for you rather than you're working for that money. I mean, the Goldilocks formula doesn't really exist in this world, and
No,
you just
otherwise
need to
everyone would
work.
be rich.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be easy, but it's not. And I guess what I'm hearing from you is just err with caution. And if you do get that experience, you might burn your fingers, but you won't put your hand on the hot plate again.
That's right. Yeah. So it could be a lesson learned. But so, like as I would say, you could. Uh, it all depends on your goals, right? So, for example, now, like, if we just run a really, light case study. So, if someone wanted to buy, like, someone in your situation, if
Yep.
I don't know, if you're looking to buy a house, right?
Yep.
Down the track, the biggest barrier to entry for most millennials, I would say our age, is accumulating the deposit.
100%. I've been looking at that
So
for
most
ages.
people would have an income, as they've got employment.
But I'm also a uni student at the moment, so like nothing's happening until I go full-time workforce.
Correct.
So
yeah.
for
so
me, I've kind of got a
most
realistic
people,
view.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm looking at like, what do I
Yeah.
need to get the 20% for LVR? Like, do I want to avoid lender's mortgage insurance, or like, what's the play there?
Yes. So all really valid sort of things to look at, which is something that most people wouldn't even be aware of, that the 20% deposit that you're talking about, the lender's mortgage insurance, they're not even really aware of that. But yeah, most people, it's the barrier to entry is the deposit. So if I just speak generally, most people would, like, if they're out of uni, they would have full-time employment, and it would be paying them an income, which is great. And that's the one that will service the loan. But the biggest barrier is the deposit, because most people will be, okay, I've been working for a couple of years now. I've saved up a little bit of deposit. Can I buy a house? And most brokers, now these days, 20%, that you don't require 20% of a house deposit. Yeah. These days, you could probably get away with maybe a 10 to 15% deposit, but then it would, require insurance. But then that's the conversations that you would have with me or a mortgage broker. So yeah, it's just in that exact, that scenario that you would go, okay, if I can't buy in 5 years, maybe I put some money into an index fund that's got low cost and will give me a steady return. But you need to be aware that if you wanted to go and buy a place, you wouldn't want to take your money out of the share market if it's in a bit of a lull.
Yeah.
Because then what it means is you're going to crystallize your loss, and you're not giving it enough time to recoup its losses and to give you a gain.
Yeah.
So what I would say is the money that you want to probably put in a share fund, have it in the back of your mind that you can take it out when you want, but is it in your best interest? That's when you need to look at, right? And just as a disclaimer, I suppose anything that we have talked about is not financial. Like, everyone's scenario is a little bit different.
100%.
So it's not.
This is general in nature.
To people. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
100. No, that's good. I don't want to get sued, and I don't think you do either. But it's these conversations need to be had, and the more that they're had in public rather than behind closed doors, it's only going to open that conversation up to have them behind closed doors. So it's only going to help people down the track, and I hope people get the value out of this. And if someone was trying to set up, I guess, for me, when I look at that, what you're talking about in terms of stock markets, like, I look at it now and I go, oh, everything's on sale because it's down since March. And then you want to sell when there's a boom because you're not going to get much higher, and every stock is different and every fund is different and whatnot. So you just need to play your own game. And even between stocks, you got to play a different game.
That's right. Yeah. But traditionally, I would say that investing in shares, it's not a short-term thing. Most investing it should be done for the long term. Now, if you wanted to make quick cash, then, be my guest, go ahead. But if you ever see a professional, like if you're just talking about a professional advisor, they would never say buy now and then sell in a year's time.
That's
would never
gambling. You
say,
may as well go to the
yeah,
casino.
that's right.
Like,
Exactly. That is exactly right. Yeah. If you wanted the quick return, you just might as well go to the
I play
casino.
blackjack at the Star. Like, it doesn't make
Correct.
sense.
Yeah.
Actually, don't
That's
go to the
right.
Star at
But
the moment.
hey,
They got
Rob.
COVID stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't do
that's
that.
right. Yeah. But hey, Rob, some people think like that, right? And it's you need to just frame them in a way that to go, okay, that's not how you should be thinking. You need to be thinking longer term.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had it drilled into me as a young fella, like, you need to sort yourself out early, and it's up to you, because at the end of the day, no one's going to look after you except for you. It's not the government's job to give you a handout. It's not your parents' job to give you money when they die, like, even while they're alive. It's up to you to sort yourself out. And if you don't look after yourself, no one else will. If you're willing to help yourself, people want to help you. But if you're not willing to help yourself, they're just going to let you be, because you're a lost cause. And it's not the case, but this is the situation that people find themselves in.
I agree. Yeah. It's quite sad sometimes, but if you can sort of, you just want to try to give as much advice that you can to just try to get them on their way, get them going. I guess that would be, it's a fulfilling thing, which is why I suppose I got into the space in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, we both have the helping complex. We've just approached it from a different perspective.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. For you, it's money and finance. For me, it's, getting your body and your health in order. And I guess the way we started this podcast, we're looking at it like, if you don't have your health intact, or if you don't have your finances intact, there's things that are just not going to go well for you in this world. And having one thing out of kilter is just going to unravel everything else. People that agree. Like, when we look at, I guess, groups that struggle financially, those groups also tend to have comorbidities. They have, they're overweight. They have a poor diet. They don't exercise as much. These are the people that don't look after themselves in general. Now, again, this is very generalized, and across the board, that's not always the case. But it's a sad fact that when, one thing is lacking, everything else starts to follow. It becomes a bit of a habit. You get lazy, which is not always the case again, but you get lazy in terms of finances, or you get lazy in terms of exercise, you get lazy in terms of diet. You think, oh, that one burger won't do me any damage. And then that one burger becomes two, and two beers become four. And by the end of it, a month down the track, you've put on 3 kilos of fat, and you're like,
and you just look, where did it go wrong?
Oh, well, I'm down this path now. Let's just keep going. And it's like, no, stop. Like, you can change it, and it's not that hard. Like, the amount of actual effort that you need to put in to make a difference is nothing. It's minuscule.
Yeah, very minimal. Yeah.
Like, I think the way I look at my finances, I don't even spend more than an hour on it a month in terms of managing my finances. Considering,
but then you feel like you've got a better idea of where everything is, right?
That's it.
So it's a small little thing that people kind of put off because they think, it's probably too hard, but it doesn't take long.
It's one episode of MasterChef, mate. It's not. It's not hard. Like, I just, do it. Just do it. Like, it's not. Go have that conversation. If you don't know, ask someone. Yeah. It's like the basic thing. Like, if you need help, people are out there to help you.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just like my thing in general. Just don't play the victim card. Yeah, don't play the victim card. Yeah. Go and look after yourself, and people will look after you.
Yeah, that's right. And like, all you got to do is reach out, because there are plenty of people that are willing to help. That often will do it, out of their own, goodness of their heart, because that's people in general. Now, sure, you might get a couple of bad eggs where they'll give you a bad experience, but I mean, that's everywhere, right? So you just got to be optimistic about hoping that you connect with the right people, but don't ever crawl into your own shell and think you're the only person that's going through that type of hardship.
100%. 100%. I mean, that got real deep right there, but like, it's sometimes these conversations need to be had, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Now, before we move away from, I guess, finance and that sort of stuff, is there anything else that sort of
Mhm.
people should consider? Like, is there a finance app that they need to, have a look at? Is there one thing that you go, well, if you're going to do anything, this is it?
There's a lot to narrow down there, Rob. I think
Sorry.
if you're just after one, if they're after just one tool,
Yeah, true.
the one thing, I suppose there's a Money Smart there's a Money Smart app. I think it's by the government or the ATO, one of the two. But it's just a generic sort of. If you're not into Excel spreadsheets, yeah, if you want to Google it,
It's not the
Google
ATO
Money
app,
Smart.
is it?
I don't know. It's not the ATO app. Yeah,
'Cause-
it's Money Smart.
Okay.
Might be a website as well. I think they've got an app. But if you're not into Excel spreadsheets, I think this one gives you a templated one already that you can sort of fill in your income and expenses. That's like, I would just urge people, like, if there's one thing they get away from this, is just sit down for a day and then just go through everything that you've got. So that includes your superannuation as well, your cars, and just really just drill down on everything that you own, everything that you pay for, and your income. And it's just going to give you a nice little overview of where you're at. And then the question that you can ask yourself is what I'm doing right now going to help me in 5 years' time?
Get to where I want to be. Yeah, it's a simple.
As simple as this. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a simple question that if you can ask yourself that, and if you can answer it confidently, then you can sleep easy. But if
Yeah.
you're not, then you need to take a good hard look at yourself and really work out what you need to change to get you there. Now, that might be difficult, and that's when you might need to sit down with someone like me or someone else in the finance industry, just to sort of knuckle it down. But that's where then you need to put an action plan in place, because if you're not going to get to where you want to go, in 5 years' time, then it's just not going to change overnight.
The more I think about it, there's more and more parallels in the two industries that we have. Like, the way that you talk about finance is the way that I talk about mindfulness, and in terms of stress management, pain management, and your diet. So people that are looking at dietary change, one of the biggest things that have come out.
Doesn't happen overnight, right?
Nah. You need to have a goal. You need to know where you want to go and what you want to do, and know that, yes, it is achievable, but yes, you do have to work for it. Now, in terms of getting a plan in action, some of the simplest things that you can actually do have the biggest effects. And that is mindfulness in this case, where if you are simply aware of what's going on, you're going to make better decisions. I guess for us, when we look at diet and we make recommendations in that regards, I will tell someone, I say, before you eat something, think about how fulfilling this is meant to be, what you expect it to be, and how satisfying you expect it to be. And then think about that afterwards. So when you actually track that over time, you're going to come to realize, when you eat a meal full of whole foods, which is fresh and healthy, you're going to feel better. You're going to be more satisfied and more fulfilled afterwards than you were before. The thing with fast food is that people just get excited about the thought of fast food. Once you've had it, it's actually not satisfying, and you still need to eat again. If you have hot chips, you're going to want more hot chips. But if you have even a burger, can be fulfilling. It actually fills you up. You have substance in there. Then you don't need the extra chips. And in this regards, you don't need to spend the extra money on Netflix because your girlfriend's got it, or your mate down the road has it. Like, little things.
I guess you could liken it to an impulse buy as well. And it's like, if I saw something that I go, oh, that would be great, let me buy it. And then you've got it, and you kind of look at it and go, well, I probably didn't really need it. And now I've got it. So
here's one that's a crossover, that Theragun. You know, the massage thing? Oh, I scratched my head on that. I mean, I talked about this with on a previous podcast with Kev Vung, and yeah, his advice was steer clear, and mine's pretty similar. I mean, if you enjoy it, go for it, but don't
Yep.
think it's going to replace an actual massage or
Yep.
hot cold therapy or any proper recovery work that you're actually going to do, because no,
Yep.
it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough then. It's a
yeah.
good tip to know.
There's a whole lot of myths out there in the sports science and physiotherapy world that unfortunately have been around for a long time, that bit by bit we're just going to unmask, and
Creeps
people are
in.
going to
Yep.
realize that, well, the thing is, in the olden days, that's all they had, so that's what they used. And then you've got these sort of old-minded physios that are teaching younger physios on how to do things, and do an ultrasound, that's going to help. And then I scratch my head and I go, how? You look at the
Is it really?
evidence. Yeah, you look at the evidence, and there's
Yeah.
no definitive answer, and I guess it's frowned upon, but it's used as an added modality. If they find
Yep.
that the patient enjoys it and they get a benefit out of it, then why not use it?
It's a tick from them. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I kind of go, if I was doing that
Scratch your head.
practice,
Yep.
I couldn't justify giving that to a patient. But as long as they
Yeah.
can justify
So I
it,
guess.
good on them.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. So I guess
sure.
this is the I guess the benefit of your podcast, right? It's just you're just trying to get the information out there to tell everyone that it's not what you hear and what you see may not be the right thing, and just to do your own little bit of research as well, to just delve down, because just like the sporting and the science behind the sports industry and whatnot, there are myths in finance as well that people believe, that they think is the right thing as well.
My old man
Yeah.
told me stay clear of shares. He's dead scared of it. Because he
Yeah.
doesn't understand it. And I'm like, if you don't
Yeah.
understand it, don't get into it. I get it, but
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
educate yourself.
Correct. That's right.
Like,
Yeah. You don't have to live your life in fear and to never go into it. You're 100% right. You just need to educate yourself and get a bit of understanding, speak to more people about it, because then you're able to gain different points of view, differing opinions, and then you're able to make a more educated, informed choice.
everyone has a phone these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's not, it's not
Yeah.
hard.
That's right.
A bit of
The
research.
age that we live in.
Like, come on.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
All the information is in your hand at all times. It's
Yeah.
just, what are you
Yeah.
looking at? Are you watching a TikTok video of a cat being suspicious, or are you actually doing some fact checking and trying to educate yourself?
That's it.
Why not a bit of both? All right.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Now, that's a lot of the serious stuff. We got that out of the way, and hopefully people got a lot out of that. But I know you're an avid Putty Cat supporter. You go for the Penrith Panthers.
Yes, I do.
And so you should be cheering right now, considering that they're on a bit of a winning streak. Now, as an honest person, what is your take on their odds of the premiership this year, and them against Parramatta?
Oh, yeah, mate.
And who's going to be finishing top of the ladder?
I have in the office as well. This particularly the last couple of weeks, I have been strongly voicing my opinion to say that I think we are going to win the premiership this year.
Ooh,
Big
call.
And I don't say that often because I'm a realist. Because I'm a realist. Do you know what I mean?
Remember, guys, he's a financial analyst, not a sports analyst. So
yeah, that's right.
Right, you're a realist, and Penrith have the grit to go and do it, or
that's right. Yeah, that's what I think. It's just because because I've followed them for a long time, and we have been pretty rubbish, for patches of that. And to be a fan during then is very difficult, right?
That's every Parramatta supporter ever. Like, most Parramatta supporters weren't alive when their premiership happened back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like,
but they've got a strong fan base, right?
Very.
During the Hayne start of phase, they're all coming out of the woodwork, right?
Yep.
But I was there when Penrith are they don't make the 8, and we're languishing at the bottom, wooden spooners, that type of stuff. So me looking at the team now, I really like it. Like I think that they've got what it takes to take it all the way. Especially looking at the teams that were the forefront runners. So you're talking about the Storm and the Roosters and the Raiders and even
Poor
Manly to a certain
Raiders, poor
extent.
Raiders right
Yeah,
now,
that's
man.
right.
I
Yeah,
feel so sorry for
yeah,
them. I mean, so many injuries. Like,
yep,
I can't see them finishing as strong as they did last year.
yep,
And they had so much
yeah.
promise, so much
Yeah,
promise.
I agree. I agree. And I like they were likely at the beginning of pre-COVID they were looking good, and then post-COVID their attack just wasn't wasn't up to par. So it was maybe at the point where they might have just found form before finals, which is the bit that they needed to take it all the way. But having Hodgson go down, I think that's really tough for them.
Mate, that's rough. I mean, for you, you're surrounded by Tigers supporters, is that right? Or is that just the nature
Yeah.
of your job?
No, yeah. So the guys that the top of the company, they're big Tigers supporters. So they're used to finishing ninth. So I think they're okay outside the eight. So they don't sort of pipe up too much. They're sort of resound to understanding where the club is at, and they're just they're happy if they make the 8-player finals game.
They're stuck in 2005 and they just want to see Benji Marshall play out his days.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. They loved it when Robbie was back. Robbie and Benji were back tandem. They loved it then. So, but yeah, but I think Penrith are a good shot. Appy Coruscant, mate, he's the buy of the season. Even better than Harry Grant, I think, at the player swap with the Tigers.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think he's and even the department of James Maloney is just, I think, because I'd always said that Cleary was the guy that runs the show. Like he's the guy that he's the 7 because he's, I don't know, his decision making and just the way he plays, he's all effort. And when you see players, and you talk about footy, right? Effort. If effort's there, like the results and whatnot will all come. But as long as you're putting in an effort and you're trying to do the right things and you've got a strong motor, it's a winning team. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I really like him, mate. I'm getting excited.
I can hear it in your voice, mate. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's pretty cool. I guess I got to put it out there that in my position as a referee and hopefully working my way up to the ranks to first grade one day, that's my end goal. That I've already signed a contract going, hey, look, you're not allowed to have any biases and whatnot, and I can happily say that I don't. I mean, I was born in Australia, but my parents are Kiwis, so I was raised watching rugby union but playing rugby league. So very confused young man where he had to go and watch the All Blacks one day and they're doing these line outs and then I go to the footy and I'm like, well, when do I get picked up? Like, who's throwing me in the air? And I learnt real quick, but it was a bit different. And I guess I've fallen in love with the game of rugby league in that regards and hopefully make it to the highest levels. But for those that keep asking me and no, I don't have a team and I'm just a big fan of the game. So even like coming up as a kid, I just enjoyed watching footy and playing footy and being around it. As a junior, I grew up in Parramatta District and I thought I was playing for Parramatta Eels as a little 6-year-old. And you go out to Parramatta Stadium and you're running on before the NRL guys, you think you are playing for Parramatta Eels. But little Robbie had to figure that out the hard way, that he wasn't a first grade player, that he wasn't on TV, and he wasn't as good as he thought. So, it's a bit different. But
that's kind of funny.
No,
that's good. To be totally unbiased. I mean, if I could just pick your brains as well, because I mean, there have been a couple of calls in the NRL that, head scratches. And I mean, I think even, the boss, Graham Ainsley, comes out and he says that, there are wrong calls and whatnot. But yeah, obviously that doesn't change the result that's happened. So it's just part of, human nature that, humans make mistakes and that we're just going to be able to live with it. So I'm completely understanding of it. Certainly I'm glad that Penrith, I suppose, haven't had a rubbish call yet that's cost them 2 points. So I guess that's maybe why I'm sort of impartial to it as yet. But, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on it? That it's you understand as well that it's just the nature of the game that, everyone makes a wrong call every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be careful with what I say here. I mean, I can like come under, don't do this sort of thing after that. But
Yeah.
I'll try and give as good of opinion that I can from a referee's perspective, which unfortunately isn't out there as much. Just by the nature of things, the more we stick our neck out, the more people want to try and chop it off. So,
Yep.
I think it's a bit of self-preservation, and I get it. Like you don't want to put yourself in the limelight just to be burnt, and unnecessarily so. But if there's a call in particular, I guess I can give my opinion on it. But the thing is, I'm not the man standing out there with the whistle. Like many camera angles, so many different things. Unless you're the person standing out there blowing the whistle, having to make that decision, or if...
How do you know?
Exactly. Like I'll sit... Everyone can be an armchair. Bloody video ref.
Yeah.
Look, you're not in the hot seat. If you make the call
That's right.
and you get it wrong with your bias decisions, because you've got your team that you support, the Putty Cats are down by 7, and this one will get them up and above and whatnot. And so it's a tough spot, and wherever there is humans, there's going to be human error.
Yep.
And the thing is, I think they've actually gone through and they've looked at trying to get computers to referee the game, and it's just not going to do the job.
Yeah.
It can't be done.
Doesn't work.
And I think it's part of the reason why we do love rugby league, and there is human error in it. But this is never going to happen. But if you actually hold the players to the same standard that you hold the referees to the same standard, if you look at number of drop balls versus number of missed tackles plus incorrect defensive decisions or tries let in, or everything that the 26 odd players on the field, all the mistakes that they make, and you can weigh that up against
they make
decisions
more.
way more. Do
you know what's funny is because I pre-COVID I refed a little bit of Oztag in the city. I mean, Siva needed to help out, so I refed a couple of games. I think I kind of know the rules pretty well, right?
Yeah,
it's a tough gig, man. You know what's the hardest thing that I find calling, and I guess I don't have a touchy, right? Is I can't call full pass. I can't tell if it's a full pass. But when I'm playing,
especially
I know
at
when
Wenny
a full
Park,
pass is played.
The thing with Wenny Park is the fields don't line up with that bridge.
Yeah.
You
can't tell.
So you can't tell. So you got no landmark.
All off. Yeah.
Especially at night time.
Yeah. But when I'm playing, I'll know when a forward pass is thrown. 100%. I'll know when a forward pass is thrown. But when I'm reffing and I'm in the defensive line, I got no idea if a forward pass gets thrown or not.
Yeah.
But just when I'm playing and I'm defending, I'll know when a forward pass is thrown. Yeah,
see,
crazy.
a little tip there is as a referee, you don't want to just stand on your line and then go backwards to set the next defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You need to come up with and follow the ball. So if the ball goes back 2 meters, you want to come up 1.5 meters.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
and if the ball gets spread deep, you need to arc around and follow that ball so you can see that pass. So these are things that we go through.
Requires a lot more running, hey? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a steep learning curve from playing to refereeing, and I'd encourage anyone who wants to be a competitive player to go and become a referee, because you learn the rules better, and then you can exploit the rules better as a player. Well, quite literally.
Yeah, definitely. No, I know, yeah.
I know a lot of people,
I agree.
like I play Oztag as well, and I know a lot of people that don't want to referee me because they know, oh, here we go. Here's Rob. He's going to try every trick in the book because he knows every trick in the book. Yeah, and damn straight I will.
And he'll bend the rules as much as he can.
Mate, if it's going to work in my favour, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And you're silly not to. Like, people say Cameron Smith's one of the best players in the game, and that's because his knowledge of the laws is second to none. if
Yeah,
he
and
went
do you know what's
out,
funny? Because there are so many people that dislike Cameron Smith. I look from outside in,
I
and
get it.
I get it as well.
Mm.
But I just have so much respect for the guy because the guy, like, he's playing a pretty rough sport, right? And the common joke around that he's your typical accountant build. You know what I mean? Like Mr. Accountant, that he's going out there and he can dominate. He can dominate guys that are 140, 130 kilograms, wrestling to the ground. If he wins that wrestle, and it's sure he stays on a little bit long, but he's winning that. Like, how can you fault the man?
Yeah, he's the one that has exploited the rules to his extent, and I mean, I think they had him in a post-match interview with. Did you watch the Raiders and Storm game recently?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
They were talking about the controversy with the
Yep.
sin
The
bin and
sin binning.
whatnot,
Yep. Yep.
and he was asking for a penalty try. Now, if you're an actual referee, you're gonna just scratch your head and go, mate, like you're kidding yourself. But
Yep.
like taking an honest opinion from it. But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's funny that they consider him in that respect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They
They do.
listen to him because his knowledge of the game is just bar none. So yeah, huge respect to him, man. Like I think he's the greatest of all time, especially in the NRL. And yeah, I just watched the Melbourne Storm to see how he does it. You
You're
know what I
taking
mean? Like,
notes for
'cause
Oztag, how to do a double block.
yeah,
One block into another block, and then, oh, wow, they
yeah,
scored a try.
yeah, that's it.
Rugby league's
But no,
creative.
yeah. So, but yeah,
Actually,
no,
there was one
yeah,
that you should have had a look at. It was Munster doing a double cutout into the centre coming in
yep,
and scoring a
yeah.
try.
And I think Manly ran a couple of, when Turbo was there, Manly
Mm.
ran a couple of nice
Outside in.
yeah, well, like some of them were even Turbo comes really late out the back and just slices in between.
He's
So they run the
sweeping.
block formation. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they run the block formation and he just comes in really
Fourth
tucked
man.
in behind.
Yep.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
like just really, really nice. So I think Manly were definitely, like, they're going to definitely be a threat when Turbo's back because I mean I don't know what goes on in Desi's head, but he knows his footy, right?
He gets a bunch of battlers and he puts them on a
Yeah.
field and he says, "Go and battle."
Yeah,
He puts them through the ringer off the field,
yeah.
and just he can only do what he can to get them out there after that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the few coaches that hasn't gone through Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's just done his own thing, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And been successful at it. So props to him. Like I mean, a lot of people don't like Manly. I don't get why. I enjoy them, watching them as a team. Maybe because I don't like Cherry Evans. I don't know.
Want me to tell you why?
Because Northern Beaches.
I could 100%. So it's the attitude thing, right? So the premise is behind people outside of northern suburbs. The idea is that people from northern suburbs don't cross the Spit Bridge unless they have to, right? And you
Too
know,
good for everyone else, is it?
Well, it's a win-win situation, but like I get it. They've got a nice area up there. It's not too bad by the water, but the persona is, or they're all sort of up themselves because they're Manly supporters, and so screw them. It's like
that's why everyone doesn't like them.
Yeah. And there was this thing back in before we were even born, bit of history of rugby league where Manly were doing quite well, and it was very questionable as to why. So just how did they get these really good players? How could they afford it compared to everyone else? And I mean, I don't know.
That's a bit like the Roosters now, right?
The sombrero.
Nick. Yeah, Uncle Nick and and his sombrero.
Mr. Politis. He's a very busy man, and I don't know what goes on behind the doors there, but
let's just say they run a pretty good financial ship.
I don't even know. I mean, I've got friends that are in the car.
Good advisors.
Well, I've got friends that are in the car industry, and that's he owns the two biggest businesses in Australia in terms of car retail, and they talk about they're actually Roosters supporters, and they talk about their boss, and they kind of go, he's an interesting person. He's he's ruthless apparently. So, but good on him to his successes and whatnot. But I mean, for me, at the moment with football and refereeing, one of the things I actually enjoy seeing is when Cameron Smith was arguing a decision to Ash Klein, and Ash Klein turns around and goes, "Well, you're going to challenge it? Like,
Yeah.
are you going to challenge it?"
Power to the people these days, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think a lot of refs come back these days because a lot of players will get in their face and complain about a call, and the ref's got an easy comeback these days. He just goes, "Do you want to challenge it?"
You can
And
challenge
it'll be a yes or no.
You're out of challenges. Sorry, mate. Like, your time's up. Sorry, bud. Like, you've had your go. It's
yeah, really funny.
no, it's good. It's good value. What happens in the video box? The guys on the field, they can't control that. As soon as they make a decision in the bunker over in Redfern, whoever's on the field, they have to go with that. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, some of the commentators are great most of the time, but sometimes their perspective is just so off. Like, put them in a referee's position for a day, and all of a sudden they'll just speak completely differently.
Yeah, and I guess
Some
that makes
commentators
it a
have
little
a lot
difficult
of
when the commentators, when they're pushing their opinions, that a lot of people listen to it and sort of take it as factual. So I guess it's a little bit of a grief on the game, but it's just part of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about banter and whatnot in terms of rugby league, and I guess it just causes a little bit more. But is it undue? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, all in all, I think they do a good job. Like, I wouldn't, obviously I'm biased in the fact that I am a referee. If there was a team I have to pick for, it's the guys that go out in, well, yellow and red, depending on what teams they're refereeing.
Pink.
But to pick a day, traditionally it was white and then it went to green and black, and they change as everything goes. So I mean, I'm thinking of the Bill Harrigan when he was in green and black and the long hair. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So, like, if there's a team I'm going for, it's those boys, because you got to back your own, I guess, in a way. And like, yes, I want to be in their position, but I also want to see them do well. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to take.
And
I don't want to
know
take
what's funny is that. Yeah, I guess it hits close to home, I suppose, because my I've got a half sister. Her name's Sarah, and she was actually she refed in the A League. So she was one of she was the first first woman to ref in the A League. So she runs the lines as assistant ref. So she has always actually been in the back of my own head, because every time I'll flame a ref about a bad call or whatnot, she's always going, "Hey, they're people as well. We need to think about that." And so I've always had a healthy respect for referees.
Which is, it's quite rare. Like, unless you know a referee, even people that know me, they still give me shit. They'll send me messages if, like, I've got a friend that goes for Manly and they watched that game the other weekend and they thought they were unjustly, served. And I'm going,
ripped off. Yeah.
Well, what am I going to do, mate? I don't have that game. And even if I did have the game, you'd probably say the same thing. And all I'm doing is just refereeing what's in front of me. It's not like I'm making it up. It's not like I'm trying to go out there and be willingly deceitful. I'm just trying to go out there and do the best job I possibly can. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I'll put my hand up. I'll be the first person to say, I stuffed up. But look, I'm going to try and be better next time. And that's all you can do. And anyone, like, there's one thing, I've got a mentor of mine, and I find it interesting. You brought this up really early on about having a mentor, and I kind of want to unpack that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I've kind of been reminded about the fact that having a mentor is a good idea. And I've recently taken, I guess, some pretty serious action in terms of getting a few different mentors in different areas that I'm pursuing. So there's two people in the world of rugby league refereeing, one that's a former referee and NRL referee, and one is a current NRL referee, as two mentors for me that I run my ideas by with them in terms of how I approach myself and my game and whatnot. And then in terms of physiotherapy and exercise physiology, I've gone and sought out Mia J was the last person on my podcast. She's a mentor for me in terms of exercise physiology, and when you kind of hear her history, you can see why. Um, and then just some inspirational people along the way that I get as mentors, and just the value that they add. Is that something that probably we missed out this discussion when we're talking about finances, that you had raised in your education about, managing your finances? Getting a mentor is actually something that's going to help you get on the right track?
Yeah, 100%.
Or is that just something that you've picked up on your own accord?
I, I wouldn't say I picked up on my own accord. Like it should be widely known that a lot of things you could probably do on your own. But I guess for, big major life decisions, it's always difficult to go in, wade into the unknown because you don't know if you are making the right decision or not. So having a mentor or just someone that you can speak openly and candidly with, someone that's been through those experiences. So you don't have to class them as a mentor, but just someone that's sort of been through that experience. You're able to pick their brains a little bit to go, how did you do things? Is there anything that you would change? Because when you ask those type of questions, people will be willing to open up and give you their experiences, and taking that information on will just allow you to be make a more informed choice. So I would definitely urge to speak to even older relatives. Now, older relatives might have, and we know the older generation, a lot of them are sort of steadfast in their own opinions and what they believe in. Like, you said your old man is against shares, so you understand that. But then there are other avenues that you can obviously pick your brains down about, your dad's brains about,
Yep.
In different parts that you can take value in. So if you see that, a certain person has done well in a certain aspect, whether it be finances or not, or with property, you can just pick their brains a little bit, to just go, how did you do, what you did? Is there any advice that you would give for someone that's going through the same thing now? And then it just gives you more clarity, and you don't have to wade into the unknown on your own. So yeah, that's, speaking with professionals. So for someone like me, you like in the advice profession, I'm happy to sit down with people at the first meeting to just talk about what they're up to, what they want to do. And if I can add value, I'll add value. You know what I mean? And I'll tell them what what their options are available. If I can't help them, I go, look, I'm not the right person for you. This might be someone that you can speak to about. So it's like, don't be afraid to speak to people that are in a profession, because what's the worst thing that you can get? They'll give you bad advice. Okay, then that's fine. Like, you take it with a grain of salt, everything that they do say. You know what I mean? You can fact check it with someone else, because, like I said, the internet is a great tool, and you don't have to be out of pocket. Because I know for me, I'm complimentary. You can sit down with me, we can have a chat, we just go through it. If I can add value, I'll tell you how much I need to charge you. But if I can't, then I'll just tell you up front. So the red flags are, if you wanted to go and sit down with someone and they say, oh, I've got to charge you for this, then that's a red flag and you avoid it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just sit down and try to speak to people that will give you that time because they're looking to actually help you. Those are the type of people that you want to, be connected with. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I guess that's
for people that don't know how the billing works for financial advisor, or you in terms of your specific situation. Do you want to unpack just what complimentary means? Like, you're going to go out and have that conversation, and if you can't provide value, you're not charging them.
That's right. Yeah. So that's as simple as it is. So most people, I mean, if they're a little bit nervous or a bit, they're unsure about what financial advice is, that's fine. Me speaking on this podcast, I'll be as open as I can to you about, what your situation is and how I can help. So that first meeting is always, I never charge anything. It's always free. And it's just me, because me getting into the industry, I just want to be able to spread as much information as I can to help people on their way, so that, hopefully they'll make good decisions, and that, they can live a happier life. So, that first meeting I always have with someone is always entirely free. I sit down with them and I just unpack those questions that I want to get them thinking about what they want to do. And then once they've sort of got their head on a bit of a swivel and they understand the direction that they want to go, I'll go, great, okay, now let's put a plan into action. And then that's when we sort of talk about the costing structures and how much I would charge. So it's always person by person, different sort of. Sorry, someone just come in. So
That's okay. That's all right.
I got a little distracted.
It's a working office. People got to do work.
Yeah.
So that's all good.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, so it's always person by person, but I always try to I want to get as much information out there to people so that they make better informed choices. Yeah.
Nice, man. No, I get that. I get that. That's pretty cool. There was another thing that I wanted to bring up. I was talking about that. I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk from time to time and kind of what he's at to over in America. He preaches that even if you've got nothing else going on, you could go down to a garage sale and flip something from a garage sale on Facebook buy sell or whatnot. Gumtree for us, but whatever works for you, and you could actually be making a bit of coin. Is that something that you would be going, oh yeah, that's a good idea? Or
I would say if you are that way inclined and you've got the time and you've got a bit of a passion to doing that, 100% do it. Go for it, like full steam ahead. Just because that's another source of revenue for you. So you've just increased how much you're making. And two, if that's what you enjoy, then it's something that you're not, wasting your time doing, doing something mindless or meaningless. It's actually providing value to your life. So I would say I'm all for that. If that's something that you want to get into, then 100% go into that, because you're making coin on it.
Yeah. I mean, like in other worlds, I guess I've got mates that have Twitch streams and they play games and they get paid for it.
Good on them. That's another source of revenue for them. And it even come to a point that if you are delving so far into that sort of community, whether it be Twitch streaming or
Instagram models
stuff from garage sales, is you could make that. Yeah, that's another kettle of fish. But I mean, if you're good at it and you make revenue from it, then 100% all for it.
I mean, I went to school with someone who is doing quite well for themselves, as far as I know, as a Instagram model, and she does professional modeling shoots here and there from that, sells products online. But like, if you can add that extra revenue stream, why not, right? For me, I work 100%. As an EP, and then I am blessed that I actually get paid to referee as well. That is my extra income stream.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, for me, long term, I want to be able to do both full time. Big ask, but like.
But yeah, so that's perfect. Yeah, it's big ask, definitely. But it's like, if you've got that in mind already, you're already, like, what you're doing now is you're already trying to work that intertwine with how you are living your life, right? So because you've already got that sort of vision ahead, that if you ideally wanted to run them side by side, that's what you want to be trying to do now. And so, anyone that's thinking about starting their side hobby or whatnot, unless it's taking away from like your original day job or whatnot, then I would say go for it.
Yeah. I mean, there's sacrifices I have to make when it comes to rugby league. For me, I can't go to every birthday party. I've got a lot of people my age that will go out and go and have a couple of beverages on a Friday or Saturday night. And for me, I have to go, sorry guys, I've got to run tomorrow. Like, I look at myself as I'm an athlete and I need to treat myself accordingly. You've got an off season, you enjoy your off season. But when you're in season and you come to turn up and you come to perform, you need to be at the best of your ability. Otherwise, you're letting yourself and your teammates and even the people that you're going out and doing that refereeing job for, you're doing them a disservice. Because for me, I might do 4 games a weekend, but for every player on that team, they only have that one game that they're playing. So I need to be on the best of my ability from the very first whistle to the last whistle of the day. Doesn't matter. As you go up the ranks in refereeing, I guess that's one game, but that's because they're tougher and faster and whatnot. But
Yeah. So, and that sort of works in tandem with spending habits and whatnot as well. Because let's say you've developed, you developed your own budget, and you've come to the end of the month and you've spent all your disposable play money, like the money that you could have spent on, out of like just recreational activities. And then, you get a message from a group of friends to say, oh, let's go out tonight. Let's do some of this. And in your own budget that you've got commitments to make. And it's in those times that you probably need to, be a better person and say, look, probably not this time, but I know next week or, in a fortnight's time, I'll be sweet. Let's do it again. It's just making those, those adulting sort of calls that if you know that you're not in that sort of good space, that you need to, I'm trying to look for the right words here, but you just need to make those right decisions because on your own that you shouldn't be doing those things.
You need to know what's in your best interest.
In line with what your goals are. Because correct, yeah. So because if you know that you went out, you blew, your month's rent or your week's rent, and you're letting future self deal with that, then how's that ever going to help you and what you want to do down the track? So it's just making those mature sort of decisions. Much the same with with looking after your body. You need to make good decisions if you know that it's in your best interest for down the track.
Yeah. Is that a thing? Can I insure my body? Like, as someone who is an athlete and trying to go down to the professional sporting worlds, is that a thing? Like a NRL players insuring their knees or something, or is that something that can be done, or am I just talking rubbish right now?
That up, actually, just because
you do work with the Tigers,
it's
right?
Pretty good that you raised that, actually. So we did. So we aren't sponsoring them this year, but so one of the directors. So we've got a One Wellbeing sort of under the One Solutions umbrella, and one of the directors is actually Chris Lawrence. So he's a West Tigers player. So he actually works within the office.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So coming out of uni, to me to work at this workplace is really, really crazy because it's like I get to see a fully fledged NRL player and interact with him and whatnot, doing my job. So that's really cool. So in terms of like personal insurance, that's something that we do. And players like Chris Lawrence, they have insurance in place. So I guess to put it in a broad sense, so there are 4 types of personal insurances. So they don't just choose to insure certain body parts, funnily enough, which is what you were asking in terms of knees and whatnot. But overall, as an encapsulated, so there's life insurance. So that's literally if you're here or if you're not here. And then there's the next one called TPD insurance, or total and permanent disability. So that's if you become totally and permanently disabled. So you're still here, but you can't function as well as you should. The third one is trauma, which is your critical illnesses. So stuff like cancers and whatnot. And then the fourth one, which I think is the most important for just millennials in general, is income protection. And so that ensures your income, your ability to generate an income from your workplace. So the one thing that most millennials don't consider as important is their income. Because if I told you that you couldn't work for a year, how would you feel? There's no income coming in, but you've still got all your expenses that you need to pay.
I don't know. I'd be lost and confused. I'd be scary, right? I'd be shocked. Yeah.
Yeah. Really scary, right? So most people insure their cars, right?
You have to.
You're driving every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the compulsory CTP, but and then you can get
I get third party as well
on top of that if you want.
Yeah.
But most people never insure themselves. So if I fractured my kneecap and I couldn't go to work for
couldn't play OzTag for. Are you playing representative these days?
I was, and then I pulled out. So that's another kettle of fish.
Right.
Just commitments to training,
I get it.
Yeah.
Got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah. People. Yeah. But I definitely implore. So personal insurance is something that people need to consider, because they would insure their house and car, but you need to insure yourself. Um, so that's something that I would definitely encourage people to look into, especially millennials. Now, you don't have to consider everything else because you don't have many commitments, but I would always insure yourself. So using income protection is my biggest tip for most people, and it has bonuses like extras, that the fact that it's tax deductible, extremely good positive on that, and there are plenty of other benefits that I won't sort of delve into here, but it's something that most people should definitely look into.
I mean, for me in my world, I guess I urge people to take seriously health insurance and private health insurance, and sort of how that affects them. And
so they work tandem. So most people have so some people don't even have private health insurance at all, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's a no-brainer, right? And then so that and income protection, they both should go tandem together. It should be a fixed expense that you built into your expenses, so that when you are 30, 40, 50, and you've got big, commitments like a mortgage, that's all taken care of. So you build the foundation now while you're younger and have a strong foundation, so that when your 30s and 40s hit, you know that the stuff that needs to be taken care of, like your insurances, is all sorted.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
That's a good idea. No, that makes sense. I haven't thought about it that way. But I mean, so wait, there's this myth, I guess, that goes around where if you get private health insurance from the ages of 20 to 30, then you pay less Medicare levy.
Yep.
Have you heard about that, or how does that work? Am I just talking absolute garbage?
No. So that depends on your annual income. So it's for those that are in really a high income bracket, that if they don't have any private health insurance, they need to pay a surcharge on top of their tax. So traditionally speaking, those that are earning, I think it's under 250,000, not having private health insurance is probably really stupid, like, if I'm being honest, but they don't get tax extra. So that's the myth is, if you're earning over 250,000, then you will get extra tax if you don't have private health. But I would just say, and I imagine you would say as well, that it's something like you just need to have, built it into your overall expenses. You know what I mean? It's just something that you should have, because in all aspects, that you never know when you might need it. And
for me, like, if you don't have your health, you can't operate. You can't do anything. You can't go and enjoy yourself. You can't go in and work. You can't go and socialize. Like, your health is number one.
Yeah, I agree. And most people, the biggest barrier that people believe that they don't want to get it is just because it's an extra expense that they don't think they need to have. Whereas I would say, if you had to prioritize your Netflix subscription over your health insurance, I think you've got it all the wrong way around. And that you need to really take a good hard look at yourself, in terms of where you're allocating your funds.
No, that's really cool. No, that makes a lot of sense, my man.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, wow.
I'm glad we deep dove into that, actually, because I had that down as personal insurances, that you need to just build it into your overall expenses, because that's your core foundation. If you're talking about any fixed expenses other than, rent and mortgage, any type of personal insurance, whether it be private, like health insurance, or, income protection, build it into your expenses. Because that way, that when it's really critical that you need it down the track, you've already got it, and it's not an extra expense that you need to add on.
You actually you made me think of something, in terms of insurances, right? If we go to like car insurance, like the pros and cons, a lot of people these days, with the popularity of Uber and rideshare type stuff, and you've got car next door and blah, 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 you name it. A lot of people are not opting for getting a car and insuring it. They're going, I'm going to get an Uber or public transport, or a combination of each. Now, for some people, and as far as I'm right, I hope I'm right, majority of people are actually going to spend more money in the long run by not getting their own vehicle.
It's funny.
Unless you don't go anywhere, unless you do nothing and just sort of, you're a hermit. but most
Yeah.
people do leave their house at some point.
Yeah. It's really funny because, I mean, that's a myth, and the myth is easily squashed if you've got an Excel spreadsheet, just to be able to track how much you think you're saving or spending each week, and then you just expand that out to whether it be per month, 6 monthly, or yearly. That's when you can actually see if you're making gains on your money, you're saving money, or you're spending more. It's the easiest way to unpack it, rather than just assuming that you think you're saving more because you're doing X. Just run the numbers. It doesn't take long, and I don't think you need to be a super maths whiz to really know if you saved or not.
Even though you
Yeah.
are, but yeah, sure, right. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess, a question that kind of I had lingering, and it's just you made me think of it. So no, thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty
all right.
cool, my man. What do you say we finish up there? Like, we've been going on for
Yeah.
an hour and a half or so.
Quite a while, yeah.
I mean,
We've rambled on for long.
mate, I've enjoyed it, to be honest. Like, this
Yeah,
has
me
been a whole
too.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I guess before we do close up officially, can you just give where you work another plug, just so if anyone wants to get in contact with you or the people that you work with, so they can. So, like, what's the best place? Do we look at your website?
So,
Do
man,
we
like,
Facebook
I'm
you?
at 5doc.
Yeah, we'll just rock up to 5doc and hopefully
Yeah.
we'll
So I've got
magically
an Instagram
appear.
and a flying around. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so I've got an Instagram handle and a Facebook. So I try to regularly post content out there for most people. So it's Alex Ho Financial Planner, all one word. So, I mean, yeah, try to check me out on my socials. You can, definitely through our website as well, onefinancialadvice.com.au. Should have most of the information there to reach out. But I mean, most people, if they're young millennials, they'll reach out on the socials. You can DM me, send me a message, and then we can go from there. Because I would just urge people, whether they use me or not, is just to think about their finances, because the link between financial health and mental health and just being overall healthy, it all ties in together, right? So I just want to get people thinking about it, but I'm here as well if they want to deep dive further and just have someone ask them the hard questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to push them over the edge to actually really get them thinking, because a lot of people, they might put it off. You know what I mean? So I'll be there just to poke the stick in them, to tell them this is what you need to think about.
Right. No, that's good. That's good. And I mean, you're not just, you don't just look after young people. If you have someone that's
No.
middle age or older people, I would
Yep.
assume you take the same approach that we do in terms of health, that you're never too late to start.
Correct. 100%. That's right. Yeah. And even like anyone that's watching it, if their parents as well are looking for someone just to get a different opinion, then I'm here to have a chat. Just because it never hurts to consult someone else, because they would definitely seek someone else, and that's fine. And you can listen to them and hear what they have to say, and vice versa, someone else to give a different opinion. So I'm always open, can answer plenty of questions and whatnot. So yeah.
We just urge people just to get off their ass and take control of their own situation. So
correct. That's it.
And don't think that it's coming from a bad place. Like, that's coming from the bottom of our hearts, going, we love everyone equally and we want people to do well. So this is only going to benefit you. So if you don't want to help yourself, then
there's not much else we can do.
That's it, man. That's it. No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on. And I hope some people do get in contact.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, my man.
Yeah.
Take care. And for everyone else, please look after yourselves in this weird and wonderful time of COVID. And just be careful. All right. Take care, everybody.
That's it. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.